Okay, so in the previous tutorial, I think we have covered resource harvesting part. So if I simulate the game again, we have our worker spawned and moving towards the resource and start gathering the resources, and after that you can see there is a number printing over here, which is the harvested resource amount. So now once our worker has been harvested number of resources, you should move away back to the resource based building and start processing those harvested resources. So that's the logic of what we have to do next. So basically the next step is carrying the resources from target natural resource and towards to that specific resource based building, right? So I think we can do that by going to the worker base, and here you can see now we have three states. Basically, first one is searching for resources, and next, once we have found a resource, we move our worker towards that specific resource, and then we start harvesting. Okay, so at the end of this harvesting, we collect the resources, and then we have to move our character or worker back to the that specific resource building, right? So in order to achieve that, maybe I'll create a separate function or event called start carrying, right? And maybe I'll collapse these nodes and say carry resources back to the building, right? So I'll move it over here, and this start carrying event should be called at the end of this harvesting phase. So I'll call start carrying, and let's go to that event. Right, and over here we can first check our home resource building is valid, right? Because maybe the building can be destroyed as well. Maybe later on I will implement those functions, but first we have to check whether we have a valid reference to our home resource building, and then actually it follows somewhat similar logic that we had at the move to resource thing, right? Yeah, so maybe I'll copy this segment and maybe paste it over here, right? Or maybe you can even create a separate function to achieve this as well, but I think it's okay to have this thing, right? So waiting, and instead of move towards resource, we have to make it as bring resource back to home, right? And yes, I think that's it. And then basically we have to move our AI character towards that specific target resource building, right? So that's a behavior related to our AI class. So let's go to the characters, worker, and AI, and let's go inside our behavior tree. So we already have this uh, behavior tree task, which is move to resource, and I think we have to create somewhat similar functionality to move our character to a home resource building base. Um, so maybe I'll create a new sequence and add a new task, right? So maybe I'll create a new task over here, which is based on BTT task blueprint base, and I'll move it to the tasks folder. Okay, and let's call it as BTT. What's the state name we had before? Let me check. Bring resource back to home. Okay, so maybe I'll name this as move to resource building, right? Okay, and actually this follows somewhat similar structure that we had in the move to resource behavior task, behavior tree task. So I'll copy and paste the exact same thing over here, and let's promote these variables. So worker ref, target location, and here instead of the current target resource, now what we should have is get home resource building, right? So this is the reference to the respective resource building of our worker instance. So AI character should be rotated, and yeah, over here also it should be get home resource building. Do we have, no, we don't have a work acceptance range yet. So let me first check my documentation. Okay, yes, we should have a work acceptance range over there as well, otherwise we don't have a reference to this sort of variable. So let's go to the buildings, resource based building base, and BP resource building base. Yeah, and over here you can see we don't have any work acceptance range, but if you look at the natural resource BP base, here we have this work acceptance range. So I'll copy that variable and paste it over here as well, and assign it to the setup resource building. But actually in here our work acceptance range should be visible in a way we can visualize our range, right? Which means that we have this work spawn area, right? And we have this resource search area as well. Likewise, it's better to have some sort of a box collision sort of a visualization to visualize this work acceptance range, right? So we don't need to actually focus on the collisions, but just for the sake of visualization, it's better to have such a component. So I'll add a box collision, and I'll call it as acceptance range. Okay, and inside the construction script, let's get that acceptance range and call it as set box extend. and that box extent should be this value, right? If I compile, and yeah, it is currently having a very small value, but yeah, maybe let's try to increase the values a little bit. Yeah, now you can see it's increasing. Yeah, so maybe for now I will move this work acceptance range just right here, and maybe I can add bit more higher line thickness, right? And let's try to increase its size as well, and yeah, so this will be the position where our character come back to the resource building, right? Okay, right. So, and actually we can disable disable the collision, so I'll say no collision, and that's it, right? Let's go back to the behavior task, move to resource space, and yep, now I think we can call get like acceptance range, and let's break it, attach this x and y values and promote this value. Okay, I think everything is set up right now, so let's go through the logic again. So basically we get the reference to our back instance, and we get the target location, and whether we have a valid reference, we rotate our character towards that specific resource building, and we move away our character, and once we reach for a certain acceptance range like here, we can stop moving our character, and we send a message which shouldn't be arrived at resource. Instead, let's go to our BPI work interface again and create a new function. So if you forgot where we had this interface, basically inside the blueprints and interfaces folder, we have this BPI work interface. So there actually we can create another function called arrived at resource building, and like here, let's create an input called reached resource building, and this should be a reference to our resource building base. So let's go to that behavior tree task, move to resource building, and instead of this thing, now we can call arrived at resource building message, and instead of the current target resource, now we have to pass get home resource build. Okay, yeah, and let's go to the BP worker base again. Yep, so current target location is also fine. Okay, now I think it should move our character towards to this specific resource building. But first, as usual, let me disable these two stuffs for this of debugging purposes. And yeah, let's see. Okay, worker spawned, moving towards to the resource, start harvesting. Okay, harvested. But it's not very. Yes, that's because of we haven't plugged that blueprint behavior tree task to our behavior tree, so we should plug it as well. Behavior tree task, move to resource building. Plus, I can add a decorator, which is a blackboard based condition, which is moving towards resource building, right? And there actually I have to check somewhat similar condition like this. So on value changed, right? It should be self, and is set state, and instead of waiting we have to choose bring resources back to home. And yeah, that's it. Okay, let's try to simulate it again. Okay, start harvesting, resources harvested, and yep, it's yeah, he's moving, but he's moving towards to the wrong direction. Why you ask that? Yeah, so in the start carrying, actually I am taking the location of the current target resource, which is not the ideal case, right? We should get the actual location of the home resource building. That's why actually we start moving again back to the resource, right? Okay, let's check it again. Okay, start harvesting. This is okay. Now he's rotating and moving towards to that specific resource building, which is nice, I guess. And yeah, he's moving to the correct position, and once he's reached, he's waiting, right? But you can see still this function is called, because once we reached our target location, we are not resetting it back to the waiting state or something else, right? But yeah, in future tutorial I will show you how to manage that state transition. But for now I think ideally this is what we wanted to do. So he start harvesting, and once it was finished, he is moving towards back to that specific resource building. Okay, so similarly I think we can check our farming girl and miner. So maybe I'll first check farming girl. Okay, start harvesting and moving. Why she is not moving? I mean, she was rotated. Maybe, yeah, that's because It's because of the work acceptance range is not set properly. Yeah, here you can see that the work acceptance range was not set up correctly here. So how we can fix that? Basically, the class defaults. This is 0, which is not what we want. EP resource building. Okay, acceptance range. Let's compile, save, go here again. I don't know why actually these things set up as 0. But yeah, we can configure those stuff like this maybe. Seems bit bigger. Maybe I'll reduce the size and over here, and let's try to simulate it again. Okay, why was that? Okay, I think this is a bug that we need to fix, but first let's check our miner as well, otherwise this tutorial will be a bit longer, right? So maybe in the next tutorial I'll try to fix it. Let's make it something like this and make sure to activate it and play. Okay, yeah, and mine also have that issue, but yeah, we can, I think we can fix that. It's just a location related issue, but I'll show that bug fix in the next tutorial, right? But ideally it works. So here you can see our work has been moved to the correct position. And yeah, in the next tutorial let's do that bug fix, and yeah, thank you.